David, Niels, hey, congratulations for Small Town, Wisconsin.
Thank you so much.
Hey, great. Such a lovely film. So I'll ask Niels this question. Where did the original idea first came to you for a film like this?
So my very good friend from UCLA Film School, Alexander Payne, brought me the script originally, and it kind of fit into a plan I'd had in the back of my head for years. I really wanted to get back to my hometown of Wisconsin and make a film here. There's something, I think most filmmakers want to, at some point, if they have the opportunity, make a film at home or about something that's close to them. And these are characters who I grew up with, worked with in my father's office furniture store warehouse. I used to go with on family trips out to dairy farm country, and I just was really fascinated with the idea of getting to make a film about a part of the country that doesn't get explored that often. You don't see a lot of films set in this part of the country, and when you do, it's often with an outsider's eye. And so I really put together a group of both crew and cast who either had small town Wisconsin roots, or at least had small town in their blood and bones, like David Sullivan does, having grown up in small town East Texas.
Wow. So for you, David, what initially attracted you to a project like this? Because I know you love a lot of these type of indie projects.
Yeah, well, I guess the humanity of it. You know, I like the opportunity to tell a story, a human story. You know, unfortunately, it seems like all we ever see on screen anymore are like $100 million movies with superheroes and capes and stuff. But really, the real heroes to me, the people who are trying to be good fathers and good mothers and good brothers and good, you know, family members. And so I saw through all of Wayne's shenanigans and through all of his problems and struggles, at the end of the day, he did want to be a really good father. And so much so that he was willing to kind of give up the life that he was used to in order to show his son, you know, what life really can be. You know, we're going to go to the big city and we're going to go to a baseball game. And we're going to get on a boat and we're going to, you know, do all the things that you just don't have the opportunities to do here. So yeah, just the chance to tell a story about somebody who has his struggles and his demons, but at the end of the day, really has a good heart and really wants to do well by his son.
David, I want to take a note that you know, you done a few of these type of traveling movies, you know, like Big Ben and Monuments. Probably not quite the wilds, but why do you love, you know, journeying throughout the country so much?
Well, it's funny. Well, first of all, we live in such a beautiful place. With, I mean, you could go to different states and feel like you're in a different country. But secondly, I learned early on in my career that, you know, when you focus on the destination, oftentimes you're not present enough to enjoy the journey. And when I took a step back and I realized that, oh, I'm chasing this dream of being an actor, being, you know, doing arguably the coolest job in the world, but also with the lowest success rate. But in order for me to really try to find that happiness, or I guess that contentment, or at least the lack of suffering, I have to be present in the journey. And so I don't know. I don't think it's a conscious decision. I think it's just something where it's like, oh, my journey as a professional actor is indeed that a quest to find what it is that I'm really supposed to be doing, or the stories that I'm really supposed to be telling. And along the way is when you really have the best time. You just got to allow yourself to be present in that journey. And yeah, it's not a conscious decision. I'm not like calling my agents, find me a movie where I'm on the road. It's like, no, just find me a movie where I can tell a good story. And I've been really, really fortunate with the past few projects I've done.
Great. And Niels, obviously Milwaukee is such a character. So how did you want to approach showcasing the city as a character? And what did you use as a backdrop for the small town part of the film?
Yeah, great question. I'll just quickly say that, and thank you for referring to Milwaukee and Wisconsin as a character in the film. That was exactly how I saw it. And when I was meeting with prospective financiers, I said, if we're going to do this film authentically, if we want to tell this story that is going to have a lot of laughter because it is a very funny story too, and of course poignancy. It has to be grounded in authenticity, and one of the key things for me to do that was to shoot in Wisconsin. And as you know, there isn't a tax credit right now in Wisconsin. So I said to Mr. Liu, who financed our film, Liu Hongtao, great Chinese, very successful Chinese financier and producer, I said, I will be the tax credit. I will call in every favor. And he trusted me on that. And I did come through, and the city came through for us big time. All of Milwaukee opened its collective doors and helped us shoot. Alexander, I mentioned earlier, came to visit set, and he saw us with 50 Harley Davidsons on a freeway in Milwaukee. He said, you know how much one shot like this cost when I was doing Nebraska? But we pulled it off on because of the city opening its arms and collective doors. And yeah, I mean, to me, I wanted Wisconsin. I wanted very specifically to shoot Wisconsin in summertime because it is one of the more beautiful states, I think, when it's warm. And I wanted that to be sort of the backdrop to a story that has a person at the center of it who needs to kind of open his eyes and see the possibility of the beauty of the state and the world that's around him.
Well, since you filmed it during the summertime, that explains why it was Milwaukee and not Green Bay for the setting. But a certain showcase, you have a certain love for baseball too.
Honestly, I like any sport when it gets to playoff. I'm much more of a Green Bay Packer fan and a German national soccer team fan. Those are my two, if I'm to be totally honest. I'm hugely passionate about those two teams. But I like what baseball represents in the story, and it's something that a parent and a child can bond over, and it's something that ends up connected to a community more than to anything else, and so it helps define the community that he's heading to.
Wow, David, I've seen you in numerous films already, and it seems like you love these characters that are challenging. Could you talk about getting into the headspace of this character who kind of like leans toward alcoholism and depression?
Yeah, I mean, I as Niels kind of touched on, like I'm from a small town myself, and I could have very easily been this person, and I have a lot of friends who for better or for worse are that person, and so I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for people who struggle with addiction. I mean, this guy just happened to be addicted to alcohol, which I have a lot of. One of my first TV shows was I played a recovering alcoholic on Flaked on Netflix with Will Arnett, and I did a lot of research on the alcoholic's brain and why the alcoholic chooses something. Because again, growing up in a small town, if somebody drank too much, I just thought they were being a dumbass. I was like, oh, well, they just drink too much. I didn't realize that it was an actual sickness. It was an actual chemical dependency in the brain that these people have that's different than my brain. So I'm just fortunate that I don't have that, that tendency, that alcoholic tendency to keep on going. One of my buddies who's an alcoholic, who I got to know, really recovered alcoholic, he was like, yeah, when I drink, every time I drink, I'd break out in handcuffs. So he was an angry drunk, and so when he would drink, he'd get in fights, and then he would say, I would drink until I either ran out or passed out. So I think that's Wayne. I mean, Wayne, he doesn't know that there's something better out there, because this is all he's ever been, and this is all he's ever been exposed to. Like, he's, alcoholism. I don't even think he would consider himself an alcoholic. I think he's just somebody who's like, thinks that he might drink a little too much, but growing up and being that way for probably the better part of 20, 30 years, that's just kind of his identity. And he's not really forced to do anything about it until, he loses the thing that's most important to him. So it was an honor. It was an honor to play a character which can be so unlikable and so despicable and so unforgivable, one moment, and then the next moment you realize, oh, he's got problems just like me. and he's worthy of forgiveness, and he's worthy of, you know, a second chance. And it was a beautiful role to get to step into.
Wow, that is pretty nice. And Neil, you know, when you're crafting this story for small town Wisconsin, how did you want to approach characters? Because it's not just Wayne as a character in the film that was actually struggling or having unhappy outcomes. It was also like Chuck and everybody else, and so on. How did you want to, you know, approach something like that, where it's just not the main character, but it's everybody who's not getting the results that they actually wanted? But in the end, obviously, it's happened.
And how funny is Bill Heck in that role of Chuck? Isn't he? He's just so. I mean, and so is Sully with Wayne. I mean, this cast, and I'm going to answer that question, but Kristen Johnston playing Alicia, you know, one of our great comedians. David has so much humor that he brings to this difficult part, and Bill Heck is just hysterical. It's just there's just so much fun in this film. And, you know, to answer your question specifically, with each character in this film is on their own sort of road to some kind of healing. Everybody is in the film, and I think the task is of the writer and director is just to really think very clearly about how individual each of those journeys are. And in order to keep this film as fun as it is, and as entertaining a road trip as it is to, as well as to take very seriously the issues involved, you just have to stay grounded with what you're doing. You have to resist writing that extra line that is for yucks. The laughter, and I know there's a lot of it, having finally, after the pandemic, getting to watch it with some audiences, there's great laughter all the time, but the laughter comes from real situations. So that's really my task, is just to, from the writing stage through directing the film, just keep it grounded and let the humor come from character.
Great. And speaking of character, one last thing before I get to go is the kid himself, Cooper. So both of you can answer. Talk about working with Cooper on a thing, because he's so delightful to watch, and it seems like he's probably easy to act with or direct with in a film like this.
Cooper is a total pro. Sully, you could learn from him.
That's exactly right. I didn't get the same encouragement when I stepped on set. Every time Cooper he would step on set, Niels would go, "A day without Cooper is a day without sunshine." And so when I got on set, it's usually like, "Hey, it's about time, Sully, get over here." So had I had that positive encouragement that he got, I think maybe I could have done a little bit better. Oh yeah, Cooper was amazing. I mean, he truly was. And he's kind of a package deal. Like when you sign on Cooper to be a part of your project, you get his whole family. And thank goodness his family was delightful. I mean, his whole family came out here. His mom, his dad, his older brother, his little sister, his grandma, and they were just along for the ride. A different family member would show up on set, and it was just like, we just had a great time with the whole family. They're such a good family, and he's such a great actor. And his older brother and younger sister have been on screen multiple times. So they get it. They get it, and he approaches it with a sense of wonder and a sense of curiosity and a sense of preparedness that a lot of actors, you know, my age don't really do. So yeah,
the film without Cooper being as great as he is does not work. He's truly a hugely talented actor, and what he and David achieved together just by spending a lot of time together, it shows up on screen.
It certainly does. And you guys, as a result, came up with a beautiful movie with Small Town Wisconsin. Thank you, David. Thank you, Niels, for speaking to us about Small Town Wisconsin. I can't wait to chat with you guys down the road again.
Thanks so much, David.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. Bye.